Well, I really like you, and I would tell you if I didn't. And by the way, I think at a certain point, everyone will.
I love Diddy. You know, he's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy.
A lot of people have asked me for pardons. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years.
Only weeks after Diddy's sentencing, media outlets revealed that his legal team quietly tried to open a line to Trump in hopes of a presidential pardon, and early whispers from Washington suggested it was at least being discussed behind closed doors. But Trump has now shut that door himself, telling the New York Times in a blunt interview that Diddy will not be receiving any clemency, and making it clear their relationship has completely collapsed. Still, insiders say the real story runs deeper than a broken friendship, pointing to powerful behind-the-scenes pressure and an unexpected figure stirring the pot once again. Because in a twist nobody can ignore, 50 Cent's name keeps surfacing at the center of it all.
He was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up. From what I read, I don't know. He didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. You know, it's different. You become a much different person when you run for politics and you do what's right. I could do other things, and I'm sure he'd like me, and I'm sure other people would like me, but it wouldn't be as good for our country. As we said, our country's doing really well because of what we're doing. So it's not a popularity contest. So I don't know. I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact.
For years, Diddy moved in elite political circles, building visible ties with major U.S. figures like Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump, often appearing at the same high-profile events and private gatherings. That level of access wasn't accidental. Former Bad Boy associate Gone Deal has claimed Diddy strategically placed himself near powerful people to gain influence and protect his position, treating proximity as power. Whether those claims are fully true or not, one thing stands out. People don't reach out to former presidents for favors unless they believe their connections carry serious weight. That's not curiosity. That's calculated confidence. It signals someone who thought their relationships weren't just social, but valuable assets capable of opening doors when everything was on the line.
And I want to apologize for not sweating, but I do this so much. I'm so cool. I just want y'all to see everybody I'm interviewing is sweating. I'm not even touching my brow. I'm so cool. And I want to apologize. I ain't trying to make you look bad or nothing like that, but I'm just so cool.
We wearing a t-shirt. I tell you, if he was wearing one of those fancy designer clothes he's designing, he'd be sweating just like me.
The guy's good. The guy's good, y'all. Let's give it up for him.
I appreciate you guys.
Peace.
Diddy's connection to Trump didn't fade quickly either. He publicly backed Trump leading up to his first presidential run, and the two were seen sharing mutual respect long after the campaign's spotlight began. When Diddy was later arrested, Trump commented in August that he believed Diddy was innocent and said he intended to review what was happening, a statement made months before any talk of clemency ever surfaced. At that point, there had been no reported request for a pardon, which made Trump's willingness to even mention the case stand out. It suggested there was still some level of goodwill or loyalty lingering, at least publicly, before everything eventually shifted behind the scenes.
Trump now clarifies his comments during an interview with Newsmax on August 1st.
Sean Diddy Combs.
Right.
Would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. He's still in jail or something, but he was celebrating a victory, but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great, and seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you, sir.
And it's hard, like you, we're human beings.
Right.
And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements. So I don't know. It's more difficult. It makes it more, I'm being honest, it makes it more difficult to do.
But
it's honestly unbelievable how convinced Diddy seemed that he was untouchable. Reports from inside Fort Dix claim he was openly telling other inmates that his release was just a waiting game because he was sure Trump would step in with a pardon. He carried himself like the outcome was already sealed, as if powerful connections guaranteed an escape hatch no matter what the charges said. That kind of confidence wasn't quiet either. It came off like someone who believed influence outranked accountability, like he still had Trump completely under control. But that swagger now looks less like certainty and more like pure delusion, a risky gamble built on a relationship he clearly misunderstood.
People that don't know when to shut the hell up. Now look, it's this Diddy thing. Look what he's saying now. Diddy been running around Fort Dix, bragging about Trump supposed to be pardoning him early next year. This is what he's telling the inmates. But I'm going to tell you why he's telling them that. And I don't like it. See, Diddy think he's slick. See, Diddy know they on his ass, and he trying to figure out between washing clothes and all this other shit, trying to figure out how he can stay cool and stay protected. Well, this is why. This is how. What if I told you sources inside the prison are telling us Diddy is letting fellow inmates know he will take care of them? Why? Because he wants them off his. And he's going to do that when he's pardoned and set free. So you kind of feel me where this is going. Lucky for Diddy, he don't know when to shut up because he may have had a chance to have a pardon if he would shut the hell up. Now, if Trump was going to pardon him in early 2026, that's over now because he done put it all out there to the world instead of just keeping quiet. What if I told you?
TMZ later revealed that Diddy had been loudly boasting about his ties to Trump, telling people behind bars that his connections would guarantee his freedom. But the moment that talk reached 50 Cent, everything flipped. Nobody has been more openly hostile toward Diddy than 50, and he took those claims personally. Instead of staying quiet, 50 launched a public campaign across his social media, directly tagging Trump and warning him not to even consider granting Diddy any kind of pardon. Post after post, he framed it as accountability over celebrity, making it clear he was determined to block any political lifeline Diddy thought he had. What started as prison bragging quickly turned into a very public pressure war, and 50 made sure Trump saw every word.
He had been photographed with Trump over the years. There was some sort of relationship there. President Trump even called him a good friend on a 2012 episode of his TV show The Apprentice. The problem is, some comments Diddy made about Trump in recent years as Diddy really entered the political realm. There's a video where he's speaking to radio host Charlemagne saying, if Trump gets elected, I really do believe in my heart there'll be a race war. In another video on Revolt, he says white men like Trump need to be banished. And by the way, you know who's not letting anyone forget this? Combs' rival 50 Cent. Took to social media recently, wrote, see, Trump don't like S like this, buddy, you run your mouth too much. And Donald doesn't take well to disrespect and doesn't forget who chooses to go against him. While working tirelessly to make America great again, there is no room for distraction. He would consider pardoning anyone who was being mistreated, not Puff Daddy. And let me tell you, the idea of Trump pardoning Diddy is not getting a ton of love.
At nearly the same time those reports were circulating, Diddy's camp publicly acknowledged that he had spoken directly with President Trump. That kind of confirmation doesn't happen by accident, especially from someone that calculated. When a high-profile figure allows news like that to go public, it's almost always because they think the contact strengthens their image or signals that doors are still open behind the scenes. It suggested Diddy believed the communication was positive, or at the very least useful enough to present as leverage. In power circles, even admitting a conversation is a message in itself, a way of showing influence without saying it outright.
His attorneys gives her first interview since his conviction last month, and she's giving an answer to what's been largely speculated about. Will Diddy get a pardon? Watch.
Have people in Sean Combs' orbit, have they had conversations with the Trump administration?
Yes. My understanding is that we have reached out.
Reached out is one thing, having a conversation is another. Do you know if there have been active conversations about a pardon?
Yes, we've It's my understanding that we've reached out and had conversations in reference to a pardon.
President Trump, when he was asked about this pardon, he said, quote, "I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great, and he seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well, but when I ran for office, he was very hostile." And the president indicated that a pardon is likely not on the table because of that break in his relationship with Mr. Combs years ago. How is he feeling now about the chances of a pardon given the president's commentary?
I think that Mr. Combs is a very hopeful person, and I believe that he remains.
The real wall standing between Diddy and any chance of slipping past consequences wasn't just the courtroom. It was 50 Cent. He understood that influence thrives in silence, and the only way to shut that door was to flood the situation with nonstop visibility. By dragging every development into the spotlight, amplifying headlines, and keeping public pressure at maximum volume, 50 made sure there was nowhere for favors or quiet backroom moves to hide. When millions of eyes are locked in, power loses its cover. What could have unfolded quietly turned into a global spectacle, and that relentless exposure stripped away the safety net Diddy thought he had.
But he's going to have to go through the process first, because I don't think Trump's going to show him any special favors for him not going through the process. So if Trump said that he may pardon him, he might still have to do a year, 9 months, or even longer than that. And I don't believe he is. I think 50 going to be right there in his ear. And I think 50 is closer than Trump than Diddy is. You know, if that's the president and he want to use his power to pardon Diddy, you understand? As long as he do his due process and go through where he's supposed to go to, I don't have no problem with that. Do I want him out? Nah, I don't give a shit. But I think that he should do the time he's supposed to do. Whatever that might be.
Just last month, Trump openly confirmed that Diddy had contacted him, putting the rumors to rest and proving those outreach attempts were real. And almost immediately after that bombshell dropped, 50 Cent fired back publicly, announcing that he planned to personally reach out to Trump to urge him not to grant Diddy any kind of pardon. It's like every move Diddy makes gets intercepted. 50 has stayed locked in, relentless and loud, pushing the narrative that influence shouldn't override accountability. No pauses, no backing off, just constant pressure, making sure the situation stays in the spotlight and that any path Diddy hoped to take gets shut down before it even opens.
Give a damn. He don't give a damn. He literally is saying he's going to reach out to Trump to remind Trump of the things that P. Diddy has said about him for the sole express purposes of making sure that Trump doesn't pardon Diddy in the event that Diddy gets convicted of trafficking and racketeering. That's what 50 Cent is sworn to do. And I got to admit to you, that's wild. Damn, you know you got an enemy there when the man want to go out of his way to contact the president, you know, and clearly he has some kind of inroads where he can get to President Trump so President Trump can hear him. He's basically saying, yo, brother need to go there.
To drive home just how serious and damaging the allegations surrounding Diddy really are, 50 Cent took things even further by dropping his explosive Netflix documentary Sean Combs, The Reckoning. The project didn't just make noise, it detonated across the internet, becoming one of the platform's most talked about releases and reportedly outperforming major titles in overall engagement. The buzz was impossible to ignore, critics took notice, and award conversations quickly followed, with 50 earning nominations as the documentary fueled global debate and kept relentless pressure on Diddy's public image.
Netflix docuseries about Sean Diddy Combs is making headlines for its never-before-seen footage of the music mogul in the days before his arrest. Now, Combs is threatening legal action against the streamer for airing the unauthorized footage. Behind the series is Combs' longtime rap rival 50 Cent and director Alexandria Stapleton, who sat down with NBC News' Chloe Malas ahead of tonight's release.
Tonight, Netflix is unveiling unseen footage of Sean Diddy Combs recorded only days before his 2024 arrest tied to trafficking and racketeering allegations. The material appears in the 4-part documentary series Sean Combs, The Reckoning, which premieres Tuesday and promises a deep, unfiltered look at the events leading up to the case that shook the industry. The project is driven by Combs' longtime rival Curtis, 50 Cent, Jackson alongside director Alexandria Stapleton, bringing major attention and controversy as the series pulls back the curtain on the final moments before everything collapsed.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day. Perhaps. What was he intending to use it for?
I have no idea what he used that for.
I mean, you're talking about a man who films himself doing everything and has for decades. I think he wanted someone to be behind the scenes.
The recordings offer a rare and revealing glimpse into Combs' state of mind as he prepared for the legal battle ahead, capturing raw moments that unfold in private settings and behind closed doors. Viewers hear tense exchanges, strategy discussions, and emotional reflections that paint a picture of someone bracing for a storm he knew was coming. Even conversations involving his attorneys appear in the footage, highlighting the pressure, urgency, and uncertainty surrounding the case in the days leading up to trial.
Will have to continue to serve his prison sentence because Trump says he's not giving him a pardon. Back in November, TMZ reported that Diddy was telling his fellow inmates in New Jersey that President Trump would give him a pardon in early 2026. He is currently serving a 50-month prison sentence. Diddy was sentenced in October of 2025, and TMZ reports that his team immediately reached out to the White House. They wanted to get in touch with Trump about a potential pardon for Diddy. A few days later, Trump told the media that he was aware that Diddy wanted a pardon from him. Sources told TMZ that at the time, Trump was going back and forth about whether he would actually give Diddy a pardon. But now it looks like he's made his decision. Despite having a long-standing history with Diddy, Trump says he will not grant him a pardon. He told the New York Times that he received a letter from Diddy requesting a pardon, but he tells the outlet that he is not considering granting the request. I think this was probably Diddy's last hope to try to get out of.
Does he even know this footage is in the documentary? Honestly, I highly doubt it. When this airs, it'll likely be the very first time Diddy, his lawyers, and everyone connected to him realizes those recordings are now public. And as for why he made them in the first place, no one really knows. But this is someone who's documented nearly every part of his life for decades. Cameras always rolling, always capturing. It feels like he wanted someone shadowing him, recording the behind-the-scenes moments, almost like he believed controlling the narrative meant filming everything before anyone else could.
You know what, you guys? Let me also write a letter to the judge. 50 said, "Dear Judge Subramanian, I have an ongoing dispute with Puffy for over 20 years. He's very dangerous. Multiple times I have feared for my life. I think you should consider the safety of the general public, Your Honor, before unleashing him upon them. There hasn't been enough time for him to reform or make any adjustments, despite him trying to teach a class in there. As you are already aware, the government has spent the maximum amount of money on deploying federal agencies, which appear to be an army in 2 locations simultaneously. Later, his son, who's dealing with his own rape allegations, hey, come on, brother, come on, man. What Christian Combs got to do with this, 50? He claimed that the feds had hit the wrong house. Anyway, Diddy's only going to return to hiring more male workers and keeping most of the baby oil away from the general public. And babies need it. My Netflix doc on this scandalous subject is coming soon. Oh man, this is downright evil, you guys. Why would 50...
The fallout from the documentary was immediate and brutal, shredding what little public trust Diddy still had and dragging his name deeper into controversy than ever before. Online speculation exploded, with viewers and commentators pushing long-standing rumors and conspiracy theories that tried to link him to some of the darkest chapters in hip-hop history, even dragging the unsolved deaths of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls back into the conversation without any verified proof. The wave of attention only intensified the pressure surrounding his legal battle, and now the New York Times reports that Diddy has written directly to President Trump requesting a pardon, a request Trump has already said he is not considering.
What they needed to do in this documentary, the whole objective of this documentary was to blame it all on Diddy the devil made me do it, blame it all on Diddy, and the rest of the industry is nothing like this. Like when Curtis Jackson sat there in his interview with Robin and sat there and said, I did this because I don't want people thinking that the hip hop community is okay with this kind of behavior. I don't want them thinking that, we're just going to be silent while all of this is going on. Like, we're okay with this kind of behavior. And my thing is huh? So now you speaking for all of hip hop, and all of hip hop is uncomfortable with this. Meanwhile, you got people like Ja Rule who, on the low key, allegedly, Gene Deal has exposed for having his own nude tryst freak-offs.
Diddy wasn't the only one sending desperate messages behind the scenes. Around the time of sentencing, 50 Cent stepped in again, submitting a letter to the court urging the judge to keep Diddy locked up. He pushed hard for the harshest possible punishment, warning that Diddy still carried influence, resources, and the kind of power that could intimidate or endanger people connected to the case if he were ever released. The tone wasn't subtle, it was a direct plea for accountability, painting Diddy as someone capable of retaliation and arguing that public safety and justice for the victims should come first. Once again, 50 positioned himself right in the middle of the legal storm, doing everything he could to make sure there was no escape route left.
That he would drink behind bars, especially while he's potentially seeking a pardon from President Trump, who
doesn't like drinking. But, here's the thing, though. He was white knuckling. I mean, he intended not to drink. He intended to do better, but he never was in a program. This is his first shot at actually getting rehabilitation.
Well, Sarah, I wanted to ask you about that because it looks like there's almost more eyes on him now post-trial. He's now gotten into trouble twice. I know he'll have his due process, but you have the drinking allegations, you have the three-way call allegations. I mean, this is not good for somebody who wants to get out of prison sometime soon.
It's not at all, but I also think, I wonder, Tom, how much he's thinking, I've got 2 pending appeals, my conviction and my sentence. He thinks he has a really good shot
of just getting out.
Of just getting out. And so this is all a wash. I mean, I don't know to what extent this is sort of this callous sort of thinking on his part, or he just is an addict.
And you were telling me today he's writing a book.
And he's writing a book, which could cause him more problems under the Son of Sam law in New York. If he's monetizing on his crime.
This is all absolutely terrible if true. I mean, Combs made such a big deal about wanting to go to Fort Dix.
Yeah.
He's trying to get out sooner than the 50 months in prison, Tom. The idea that he would be violating rules left and right within 2 weeks of getting there is really unfathomable after, again, listening to him cry and sob in front of the judge just recently saying, I want to do good, I'm sober, and I want to be released to go home to my family. So again, and like you said, President Trump, he doesn't like drinkers, okay? He doesn't drink himself. His brother was an alcoholic. And so has very strong opinions about that. He's talked about it. And if Diddy's seeking a pardon from President Trump before the new year.
Now it's painfully clear that Diddy has been completely cut off. The powerful friends who once stood beside him, celebrities, executives, political figures, have all gone silent, distancing themselves as fast as possible to protect their own reputations. The industry that once celebrated him has flipped the script, treating him like the fall guy and piling every controversy onto his shoulders, as if he alone represents everything wrong behind the scenes. No loyalty, no defense, no safety net, just isolation. The doors that used to open instantly are slammed shut, and the empire he spent decades building has collapsed under the weight of public scrutiny. At this point, he isn't just facing legal consequences, he's facing total erasure from the world that once depended on him.
Trump recently announced that he's not going to be pardoning Diddy.
I seen that.
Yeah. Are you surprised?
Yes.
Me too.
I thought he would have pardoned Diddy.
Yeah, because they used to be homies back in the day.
I think maybe Diddy didn't do what he was supposed to do.
What was that?
You know how that go, man. You know, hey, listen, the Chevy in the parking lot, the truck is open. You know, them pardons ain't just happening to happen. This a fact. Not those type of pardons. But if Diddy does right, and if he's in the drug program, he'll be home later this year anyway.
This year?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think so. He's not coming home this year.
Want to do the math?
Let's do the math.
Okay, let's do the math. 50 months, right? He got 50 months.
Right. About 12 months time served?
Hold on. He got 12 months time. Do they take the 15 from the top?
Yeah.
Okay, so minus his 15%. That leaves 42 and a half months. Minus, he had,
about 12.
12 months time served? 12.
So that's 30.
That's 30. Minus another 12 months for the drug program. That's why he went there. You do the drug program. They
18 months.
12 months off. 18 months minus 6 months for the halfway house. 12 and a half months. He got sentenced when? In October? Was it October?
I think that's too soon, but yeah.
All
right, listen, if
I'm
you're right,
doing all the deductions.
Listen, I'll be happy if
you
Diddy's
do know
free.
That's why he wanted the drug program.
Right, to get a reduction.
You
I get
get
it.
12 months off, and then they send you to the halfway house 6 months.
Diddy's family has now stepped in, with his children announcing a partnership with Zeus Network for a documentary aimed at presenting his perspective and trying to soften the public narrative around him. The trailer even hints that Diddy himself will appear, signaling a last-ditch effort to regain control of his story as his career hangs by a thread. But just as that rollout began, new reports surfaced claiming he was disciplined for violating prison rules by possessing alcohol while enrolled in a treatment-based housing program designed for inmates seeking rehabilitation. That development sparked backlash because the entire purpose of his placement there was tied to demonstrating reform and responsibility. Instead of helping his case, it reinforced the image of someone still making reckless choices at the worst possible time, further damaging any remaining sympathy or credibility he was trying to rebuild.
Official declined to comment on, quote, speculation and told us any decision on pardons would come from the president himself. Combs' attorney, Mark Agnifilo, said he has not talked to the Trump administration about it. You mean to tell me that you really have nothing to do with a possible pardon right now?
Nothing. I have nothing to do with a possible pardon.
What is Sean Combs saying about the possibility of a pardon?
I think he knows I'm not political. We've never discussed it other than I tell him what's in the news about it. But you know.
And what's his reaction? Does he laugh? Does he say, let's look into it? What does he say?
Go tell him that I need a pardon. Go tell him I deserve a pardon. That's what he said.
How are you preparing him?
So I tell him what the guidelines are, and the guidelines are about 2 or 3 years. And I tell him, the judge could go above the guidelines.
Do you have any regrets in how you tried this case?
It's a good question. Not really. Not really.
You called the relationship between Combs and Ventura a great modern love story. Ventura says she was raped, physically abused, and became addicted to drugs because of Combs.
I think that's what makes it. You vehemently deny. And I know I respect that she said that. I don't think the jury concluded that happened. In terms of the drugs and the other stuff, I think that's what makes it a modern love story. I think she very much loved him, and I know he very much loved her.
Cassie Ventura's attorney told us that Agnifilo's description of the relationship is a, quote, complete disgrace and affront to survivors of domestic.
Recently leaked footage from inside the facility added another layer of controversy, with TMZ publishing images that appeared to show Diddy socializing and smiling alongside individuals identified by outlets as affiliated with prison gangs. The optics immediately raised eyebrows online, fueling speculation that he was aligning himself for protection or influence while behind bars. As the photos spread, 50 Cent wasted no time amplifying them, reposting the images on Instagram with a mocking caption that took a direct jab at Diddy and turned the situation into yet another public humiliation. What was already damaging quietly became louder and more embarrassing once 50 pushed it into the spotlight for millions to see.
President Donald Trump seems to confirm he's heard from the mogul's legal team. The comments coming Monday from the Oval Office as reporters asked about a pardon for Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's serving 20 years for child trafficking.
Consider it or not consider, I don't know anything about it. So, but I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for.
Even without any chance of a pardon, There's still talk that Diddy could potentially be released as early as this year depending on how his legal situation unfolds, which explains why his camp is scrambling to reshape public opinion through media before that day comes. But timing couldn't be worse. The industry climate right now is ruthless when it comes to scandal, and audiences have zero tolerance for anyone tied to serious allegations. Even if he walks free, the damage to his name is already permanent, and that shadow won't stop with him, it follows his family too. Networks, brands, and collaborators won't want the backlash, and his children stepping into entertainment, while defending him could shut doors before they even open. This isn't just a comeback problem, it's a total reputation collapse that the public isn't likely to forget anytime soon.